Shabbat Shalom, Happy Sabbath. It seems to me that circumstances have sequestered us as assiduous students of end time prophecies. And so we have been given an important assignment. We're all here working on our term paper. And our term paper is to comprehend the unfolding prophecies that now herald the Messiah's second coming. And despite the admonition from the word to be watchful, many of us are known for our attendance each week in church, but not necessarily for our acidity in study. Therein, the education of many is only elementary, if at all. And so this morning, the duty to study the scriptures, we understand that it has become woefully unheeded. Thereby, only a remnant of a people that has remained unweariedly diligent. Only a few people are really taking this thing seriously and are studying the Word of Yah. Therein, those that are studying are now engaged in scrupulous trawling. For them, it's not so much a matter of serendipity, but by way of inspiration. It's not a matter of chance. These things that are happening as we see them in the news, it's not a matter of chance. And Yah is giving us is inspiration so that we may understand. And so there is a refreshing aptitude for the active pursuit of divine prophetic discoveries. And in so doing, this morning, we want to take a look at the book of Esdras, or Ezra, the priest and prophet. This is the portion of book that they have omitted from the common canon, and they call it Apocrypha, meaning secret book. This morning, we want to look at it and see if we can make sense of it in terms of the things that he has revealed to us. And so the book of Esdras has attracted a dedicated coterie of readers, many of which annotate his comments to make sense of their own understanding of things. That's where we are this morning in the book of Esdras. But first, I would like to read from the book of Matthityahu, that's the book of Matthew. And turn with me to chapter 23, and we will read verses 37 and 38. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and he would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. That's Matthew. That's the Talmudim who wrote this. Turn with me now to the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 1, and I will read from verse 30. I gathered you together as a hen gathers her chicken under her wings. But now, what shall I do to you? I shall throw you out from my presence. When you offer unto me, I shall turn my face from you, for I have rejected your Moedim, your new moons, and your circumcisions. I sent you my servants, the Nebiim, the prophets, whom you have taken and slain, and torn their bodies in pieces, whose blood I shall require of your hands, saith Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh the Almighty, your house is laid waste. I shall cast you out as the wind does stubble. Verse 34, and your children shall not be fruitful, for they have despised my command and done that which is evil before me. I have contrasted these two passages, one in Matthew spoken by Yeshua, and one here in Ezra. The point I want to make in that is that you see clearly Yeshua here in Matthew is quoting from the book of Esdras. So if it is good for him, the Messiah, to quote from this, the Apocrypha, it's good for me. And so this morning we're going to spend some time in Esdras, particularly chapter 11 and chapter 12. So come with me, because Esdras here talks about an eagle. He talks about an eagle that has three heads. And we're not here this morning simply to look at ornithology, the study of birds, but to look at a particular eagle and the existential relevance of it for us in these times. We want to look at that. This thing is linked to such a way that we cannot miss it. There is a stunning fusion of extraordinary prophecy, divine interpretation, and the accuracy of it is such that it behooves us to study it a little bit more. This morning, we want to look at that. As I indicated, it relates to a nation that will emerge at the end of time, represented by an eagle with three heads and 20 feathers. Feathered wings, he calls it. And so, feathered wings, these words are used interchangeably. We want to look at that. Come with me to chapter 11. And the word reads in verse 1, then I saw a dream, and see, an eagle came up from the sea, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. And I looked, and see, it spread its wings over all the earth, and all the winds of the air blew on it, and were gathered together. And I looked, and out of its wings grew other opposing wings, and they became little wings, but smaller. In some edition, it says contrary wings. So in total, there are 20 feathered wings. And these wings, we soon will find out, represents kings that will reign as time unfolds in a particular country. And verse 4 says, and its heads were at rest, they were sleeping. The head in the midst was greater than the others, yet it rested with the others. And I looked, and see, the eagle flew with his wings and reigned on the earth. and over those that dwell in it. And I saw that all under the Shemaim, that's the heavens, were subject to it, and no man spoke against it, no, not one creature on the earth. This kingdom, this country, this nation was so powerful that the people were afraid to say anything in case this eagle would get at them. And so we want to use the word here, spoken, written by the prophets, to see if we can make sense of which country, which nation is being depicted here as an eagle. We want to do that because these are the end times. And we have to make sense of this and see what is going on. Now, as you read through the book of Ezra, particularly this passage here, the word here, earth, is the Hebrew word eretz, meaning either the whole earth or a portion of land or territory within the earth. And it seemed to me, and I'm inclined to hold to the view that that which Esdras is speaking here is talking about a particular portion, territory of land that is within the wider context of the earth. That's what he's talking about. And you will see why. I will show you why I take that position. So, verse 7, and I looked and see the eagle rose up on its talons and spoke to its wings, saying, do not watch all at once. Everyone sleep in its own place and watch in turn, but let the heads be reserved for the last. And I looked and see the voice did not come out of the heads, but from the midst of the body. And I numbered its opposing wings, and see there were 8 of them. So Esdras, the prophet, the priest, is letting us know a country, a nation will emerge at the end of time, and this eagle is an emblem, a representation of this nation. And this is a wicked nation. This is the word of the prophet. And the feathers that we see here, the wings, they represent kings that will rule. And there was 12 on one side of the eagle and 8 on the other side of the eagle. He wants us to know that. And we're having to go deep into this to see if we can scrupulously trawl into the word and understand what is going on. By way of inspiration, as I indicated, it's important that we do that because these kings are the ones who carry out the duties of the eagle. Let's read verse 11. And I numbered its opposing wings, and see there were 8 of them. Now, when it says contrary wings or opposing wings, I pondered it. And many have conjectured all kinds of things. But I asked myself the question, contrary to what? Because we see here that 12 feathers, 12 leaders are on the one side, and 8 is on the other side, but the 8 are contrary to the others. So I ask myself, contrary to what? And I ask, is it contrary to the Constitution? Could it be that they're contrary to the Constitution? Or is it contrary to the rule of Yah? Is that it? Is it contrary? Because as I pondered this matter, I am reminded by history that on the day that George Washington was inaugurated, he dedicated this nation to Yah. On that morning, the House and the Senate, they walked over to St. Paul's Chapel, that little chapel, and on their knees, they prayed and they dedicated the country to Yah. And he reminded them, if ever we were to move away from Yah, Yah would pull away his blessing from this land of America. I say this because many of the people who have read this, they have ascribed the eagle to America. They said this is America. We know also that some have conjectured this is ancient Rome. We also know that the eagle was used as an emblem for ancient Babylon. We know that. But we're dealing with the existential relevance of this, because as we have indicated here and we've stated many times, that prophecy is not just a matter of statements and then fulfillment. It is a cycle. And so when the word speaks of Mystery Babylon, it is telling you that many of the things that were practiced by ancient Babylon will now be practiced by this Mystery Babylon. Esdras comes to give us an understanding of what is happening. Verse 13, and so it was that when it rained, well, let's read from verse 12. And I looked, and see on the right side there arose one wing, and rain over all the earth. As I indicated, when we read and we see the word eretz or hertz here, we've got to understand that it could either be the whole earth or a portion of land, a territory that is within the earth. I take the view that it is dealing with a portion of land here. Verse 12, and I looked and see on the right side there arose a wing, rained over the earth. And so if this is America, as some have stated, then it's telling you that the feathers here, these are presidents. That's what it's telling you. And it rained over the earth, and so it was that when it rained, its end came, and its place appeared no more, so that the next following stood up and rain a long time. So consecutively, these presidents reign. And it came to be that when it rained, this is the second one, its end came, and just like the first, so that it appeared no more. Then a voice came onto it and said, listen, you who have ruled over the earth so long, I say this to you before the time you are no longer seen. None after you shall attain to your time, neither to half of it. Now, This makes it more even interesting for us who are studying this assiduously. Because we know that in the context of America's history, Franklin D. Roosevelt was a president that won 4 elected terms. No one else has ever won as many, but he died in the 4th term. And the voice here in Esdras' word is saying, no other president, no other feather, no other leader will reign as many years as you have. And the word tells us that this was the second leader. So you understand clearly that the prophecy here is not dealing with the beginning of American history. Because if Roosevelt is the second leader, then all we have to do is to go one up to the one before him, who was Herbert Hoover. So in that regard, if we take Herbert Hoover as the first leader and Franklin D. Roosevelt as a second, and we know immediately after or years after Roosevelt, there was a 22nd Amendment that was passed. I think it was ratified in 1951, if I am correct, that no other president will serve as many times. They are limited to 2 terms. And so we see that here in the book of Esdras. And so if we look on the side where the 12 presidents ruled, or the 12 feathers, so we have, if we count them, we have Herbert Hoover, we have Franklin D. Roosevelt, we have Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, we have John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald R. Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton. That's the 12. So after Bill Clinton, the 12 on that side was complete. But we're told that from the 8, 2 of those presidents moved over and went on the other side. Now, so those 2 wings, contrary feathers, and as I indicated, people have speculated why are they called contrary, and I have given a perspective why it could be so. Started, so number 13 was George W. Bush, and number 14 was Barack Obama. So when Barack ruled, this was all the feathers on that side. It was complete, according to the book of Esdras. That's what he said. Verse 14 of chapter 11. And it came to be that when it rained, it hen came, and the first, so that it appeared no more. Then a voice came unto it and said, listen, you who have ruled over the herd so long, I say this to you, before the time you are no longer seen. None after you shall attain to your time, neither to half of it. So I'm reading that again for emphasis, to emphasize the 22nd Amendment that restricted anyone serving more than 2 terms. Then a third arose, and they reigned up in the 12, and then, as I indicated, 2 more from the contrary side came over on that side, and so that was, Obama was the 14th. Verse 19, so it came to be with all the remaining, one after the another, so that each one reigned and then appeared no more. Then I looked, and see, in the course of time, the wings that followed stood up on the right side, that they might also reign, and some of them reigned, but in a little while they appeared no more. Now, as I indicated before, that some have said this is America, and they give the reason for the one President Roosevelt winning 4 terms, saying it is referring to America as the earth. I want you to come with me also to the book of Chizayon, that's the book of Revelation, chapter 12. And I would start reading at verse 13. When the dragon saw that he had been thrown to the earth, in that he started a war in heaven because he wanted to exalt his throne above the Most High. And he fought with his angels, and Michael fought with his angels, and it was found out that there was no accommodation for him in heaven. And so he was now an unemployed cherub in heaven. He was thrown down. And the word said he was thrown down to the earth. Now you can speculate whether or not it was Eretz, the global earth, or earth meaning a portion of land. In this case, perhaps some would say he's talking about America. He persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. Now, we know that the woman here is the assembly, the church. Because Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 2 tells us, I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. So the devil was angry with the assembly, with the church. And as a consequence, the church had to flee into the wilderness. And the church was there for a great period of time. But this is what I want you to focus on. And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle. The church was given 2 wings of a great eagle to fly into the wilderness to her place where she is nourished for a time and times, half a time, 1260 years, from the presence of the serpent. And out of his mouth the serpent spewed water like river after the woman to cause her to be swept away by the river. And the earth, here it is again, verse 16, the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river which the dragon had spewed out of its mouth. Now, as you read that, you need to understand this. We're here now dealing with the period of the Protestant Reformation, when the church was under attack, was trying to flee from Europe. These are the Protestant brethren were fleeing from their Catholic brethren. They were fleeing from England, from Holland, Germany, the Dutch Reformed Baptists. The Reformation was underway, and they were fleeing. And history tells us that they came to America, the earth, on eagle's wings. They were taken in by the earth. They did not go globally all over the world. They came to a piece of land, Eretz, and they were taken in. The Lollards, the Pilgrims, they came here. And Esdras captures this to make the point and to identify the subject that he's talking about, the eagle. That's what he does. And so the word says, verse 22, chapter 11 again, of Esdras. I am now moving from Revelation back to Esdras, because the point I went to Revelation to show you was that the earth mentioned there is consistent with the earth mentioned in Ezra. It's the same place. After this I looked, and see, the 12 wings appeared no more, nor the 2 little wings, and there was no more on the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested, and 6 little wings. So after Barak served, that's 14 of the 20 feathers, so it leaves 6 feathers. The three heads are asleep. Now, people have conjectured many things and say what these heads are. They're external forces and kingdoms. But I'm inclined to concur with those who believe it's the three so-called co-equal branches of government. Those are the heads. The executive, the judicial, and of course the one in the middle, that is the legislative. Now, when you go through this, I'm siding with Esdras that there are no such thing as co-equal. They're not co-equal. And I tell you why I believe they're not co-equal at all. Because Congress is superior. They make the law. Congress can get itself involved in actions into other branches' business. It can override presidential vetoes. It can deny appointments to the executive or judicial branches. It can impeach officers of the executive or judicial branches. Congress can do all these things. They cannot do that, the other branch. So Congress is supreme because they make the law. If you are the one who maintains the execution of the law, but I'm the one who makes it, who is greater? The one who makes it. And so I give that rationale as to why they are not co-equal. So the word says, verse 25, and I looked and see the wings that were under the wing, thought to appoint themselves and reign. And I looked and see there was one appointed, but soon it appeared no more. And the second went away soon after the first. Did you get that? So verses 26 and 27 is dealing with the 15th and the 16th feather presidents. We established that Obama was the 14th. So the 15th would be Donald Trump, and the 16th would be Biden. Let's read it again for emphasis. And I looked and see there was one appointed, but soon it appeared no more, because he only served 4 years in his first. And the second went away, that's Biden. And it says, sooner than the first. Remember, a few months before, he was to go to his fourth term, he had to resign. And so it is captured here. The accuracy of this thing is such that you cannot miss it. It's as clear as the noonday sun. And I looked and see the two that remained also thought with themselves to reign. And when they thought to see, one of the heads was at rest, awoke. That which was in the midst. Congress awoke, the one in the midst, the supreme one. Even though Congress called itself co-equal, it has power that it is not using. For it was greater than the two other heads. Here it is. This is coming from heaven to the prophet. And it's telling them, with this eagle, the head that's in the middle, if this being Congress, it is greater than the other two. It's greater than the judicial, and it's greater than the executive. And with that power, there should be no imperial president in America or anywhere else. Because the way they drafted this Constitution was to make sure that there was a balance. And Esdras wants us to understand that. And then I saw the other two heads were joined with it. So the judicial and the executive joined with Congress. And see, the head was turned with those who were with it and ate up the two wings under which they would reign. But this head listen to me, what Esdras wants you to know. He said, but this particular head put the whole earth in fear. I didn't write this. And reign over all those who dwelt on the earth with great oppression. And it governed over the world more than all the wings that had been. And after this I looked, and see, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more as the wings. Did you get that? He says the head that's in the middle, that's Congress, suddenly it's no more. What would cause Congress to disappear from the American system? We don't know. But Esdras is letting you know something here. But the two heads remained, which in like manner also ruled over the earth and over those who dwell in it. And I looked and see the head on the right side devoured that which was on the left. The heads now are going to be fighting against each other, which tells you it is a slow demise of a great kingdom. And you will see why this is happening. Because you're dealing with a country, as I indicated before, that was dedicated to Yah at its inception. We can conceive no other nation except the nation of Israel, ancient Israel, that was dedicated to Yah. America was dedicated to Yah. Right there in the province of Ground Zero, where that little chapel is, St. Paul's. And it's interesting, that's where the tower fell. And although the tower fell in that area, that little chapel was not damaged. Meaning, you are dedicated here. This is a holy land. Therefore, if it's holy land, why did you come and build Wall Street here, the money changers? And so you kind of get the impression that the money changers were driven out. That's the impression you get. And so when you link that with what happened in 2017 and 2024, almost 7 years apart, when the eclipses went across America. Are you with me? And in the sky, where the signs intercept, there was an X across America, and they intercept at a place called Little Egypt. The eclipse went across 7 cities that are called Salem. 7 of them. Are you with me? The eclipse began in Salem, Oregon, and ended in Salem, South Carolina. "70 miles apart, traveling at 1,500 miles per hour and lasting a total of 1 hour and 33 minutes. Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, Missouri, Kentucky. All these are cities that are called Salem, 7 of them. Now, when I went to school, grade school, and the teacher wrote in red ink an X on my book, I know that the work was either incomplete or it was wrong. In these eclipses, Yah wrote in the sky of America an X. Salem means peace, and he puts an X, no peace. We've got to understand that. And so, come back with me to 2nd Esdras. Because this is serious. Verse 37, And I looked and saw what was like a roaring lion chased out of the forest, and I saw that it sent out the voice of a man to the eagle. The lion now was sent to the eagle. The king of the jungle to the king of the birds. You see, I've always said, and I still maintain, that a righteous America, a Kodesh America, would be far more feared and respected across the globe, across the world, than a military America. It would. If my people who are called by my name should humble themselves and pray, I would heal their land, put away their wickedness, do what Washington did, do that. So the word says, verse 38, listen, I shall speak to you, and the Most High says to you. So the lion here, who comes from the forest, the lion of the tribe of Judah, we want to know according to Revelation chapter 5, he now comes to speak to the eagle. Because everybody else is afraid. And he's speaking to the eagle. Are you not, says verse 39, that which remains of our four beasts, which I made to reign in my world? Whose world? The lion's world, the Mashiach world, the Messiah's world. That the end of their times might come through them. Are you not the fourth beast? And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past and had power over the world with great fear and over the whole circle of the earth with much evil oppression, and dwelt upon the earth for a long time with deceit. We just celebrated, did we not, 5 Jubilee of American rule, 250 years. The lion said that's a long time. Of course, if the prophecy is correct in that this is America, he says you've ruled with deceit. Verse 41, for you have judged the earth, but not with truth. Remember, the lion here who speaks is the Messiah, speaking to the eagle. Verse 42, for you have afflicted the meek, you have hurt the peaceable, you have loved the false, and destroyed the dwellings of those who brought forth fruit, and have thrown down the walls of those who did you no harm. Therefore, your wrongdoing has come up before the Most High, and your pride to the Almighty. The Most High has also looked upon the proud times, and see, they have ended. What? They have ended, and its abominations are complete. Your cup of abomination is almost full now. It's full. And so, if this is true, and we have no reason to believe it's not, it's the word of Yah, that we have some very interesting times ahead of us here in America. And therefore, you, eagle, appear no more, nor your horrible wings, nor your evil wings, nor your wicked heads, nor your evil claws, nor your whole worthless body. Now, we read in chapter 11 that a voice came out and spoke from the body of the eagle, which gives an indication the kind of political system we have, because the body of the eagle would then represent the people who vote. They speak with their votes. And so that's the voice of the people when they vote. And so the eagle speaks through the body. And so Esdras here is not leaving any stone unturned, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return being delivered from your violence, and that it may have expectancy for the judgment and the kindness from he who made it. So the Lion of Judah speaks to the eagle and says, you have been engaged in wicked rule. So come with me to chapter 12, because chapter 12 now will give Esdras the explanation of the vision that he had. And it came to be, while the lion spoke these words to the eagle, I looked, and see, the head that remained in the four wings appeared no more. If this is true, and if this is Congress, then Congress is no more. And the two went forward and appointed themselves to reign, and their reign was short, but full of unrest. Unrest. Shall I repeat that? Unrest is coming to America, says Esdras. And I looked, and see, they appeared no more, and the whole body of the eagle was burned. The body of the eagle was burned, so that the hurt was in great fear. Then I woke from the fear, out of the troubled trance of my mind, and said to my spirit, see, you have done this to me, because you search out the ways of the Most High. Come with me to verse 10. And he said to me, this is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle which you saw come up from the sea is the rain which was seen in the vision of your brother Daniel. Daniel saw this, but it was not explained to him. Therefore, I now declare it to you. So there is consistency here. As you know, Esdras is a contemporary of Daniel, both of which were taken to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar. So come with me to the book of Daniel, and we will read chapter 7, a few verses there. In the first year of Belshazzar, the king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove unto a great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one another. The first was like a lion. Did you hear that? The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth. There it is, the earth, eretz. And made to stand on the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to him. Now, most people have suggested that these four kingdoms are the same four kingdoms that we see in chapter 2. But Daniel wants you to know at the end of this that his thoughts troubled him because he did not understand the interpretation. And clearly it is said here, this was not explained to Daniel. We just read that. But we can't say that about chapter 2. That was explained to him, and he was able to explain it to Nebuchadnezzar. So we can conclude, or perhaps we can conjecture, and perhaps more so plausibly, that the kingdoms here in chapter 7 and not necessarily the four in chapter 2. And why do I say that? He said the first was a kingdom that is represented by a lion. What if this lion here is none other than the three lions of Great Britain, from which this eagle's wing was plucked? We know that America came out of Britain. What if it's that? I threw that out for your consideration. So we're told that the fourth kingdom that Esdras saw is the same kingdom that Daniel saw in chapter 7. His thoughts troubled him. And after this, I saw in the night vision, behold, a fourth beast. Verse 7. I'm now in Daniel 7 again. The word said that it is precept upon precept and line upon line. It's just what I'm doing. I have to study to show myself approved unto Yah, not necessarily other people. It says this beast was dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked by its roots, and behold, in its horns were eyes like the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking great things. So the fourth beast is going to have a ruler who will speak great things, boastfully, pridefully. And the lion is just waiting to have a conversation with him. He's going to have a rendezvous with the lion. That's what the word says. So let's go back to the interpretation of Esdras. Verse 12. It says, this is what was shown to Daniel, but it was never explained to him. Verse 13. See, the day shall come that a king shall rise up on the earth, Eretz, and it shall be feared above all the reigns that were before it. Now let's ask ourselves a serious question. Of all the countries and nations in the world, which is more feared in the world today? I'll leave that to you to decide. Verse 14, and 12 sovereigns shall reign in it, one after the other, of which the second shall begin to reign and shall have more time than any of the others. We just spoke earlier and we said that was Roosevelt. This is what the 12 wings signify, which you saw. As for the voice which you heard speak, and that you saw to not go out from the edge, but from the midst of the body, this is the interpretation. At that time of the reign, listen to me, at that time of that reign, great struggles shall arise, and it shall stand in danger of falling. Nevertheless, it shall not fall, but it shall be restored again to its beginning. Might he be talking here about all the kerfuffle that took place on January 6th? When it almost seemed that the country was in turmoil, it was going to fall. Could it be that? Verse 19, and as you saw the 8 small wing underneath clinging to its wing, this is the interpretation. 8 sovereigns shall arise within it, whose time shall be short and their years swift, and 2 of them shall perish. We know that of the presidents that have ruled, 2 of them were perishing, that they did not serve their time. One was Kennedy, cut short, and Nixon had to resign. So again, the prophecy is online. 2 of them shall perish, the middle portion of it. So at the time that Nixon served, the prophecy said that was about the middle portion of the total years given to the presidency. So we're talking about, I think, if I remember correctly, Nixon resigned in about 1974. So that's about 51 years. That's a long time. So if you count that as a middle portion, it will give us an idea of how many years are left for the 20 presidency. And as you saw, 3 heads resting, this is the interpretation. In the last days, the Most High shall raise up 3 reigns, and in this shall renew many matters, and they shall have the reign of the earth, and of those who dwell in it with much oppression. So it's not getting any better, oppression. So this notion, this idea this idea that is in search of a belief that we're going to make America great again. The word says there is much oppression above all. Those who were before them, therefore, they are called the heads of the eagle. For these are they who shall accomplish its wickedness, and who shall complete its latter end. And when you saw that the great head appeared no more, it signifies that one of them shall die on his bed, but with pain. And for the two that remain, they shall be slain with the sword. For the sword of the one shall devour the other, but in the end it shall all fall through the sword itself. And as you saw two wings under the wings passing over the head, that is on the right side, this signifies that though these are they whom the Most High has kept to the end. This is the short reign, full of trouble, as you saw. So again, the emphasis here on trouble and turmoil. And the lion whom you saw rising up out of the forest, roaring and speaking to the eagle and rebuking it, chiding. That's our subject today. The lion chides the eagle, rebuking it for its unrighteousness with all its word which you have heard. This is the Amashiach, whom the Most High has kept for them and for the wickedness unto the end. He shall reprove them, he shall berate them, shall reproach them from their cruelty. For he shall deliver the rest of my people with kindness, those who have been scattered. You didn't hear me. Let's say that again. For he shall deliver the rest of my people with kindness, those who have been scattered from my borders, and he shall make them joyful until the coming of the day of judgment, of which I have spoken to you from the beginning. This is the dream that you saw, and these are the interpretations. My people were scattered. We all know that many of the slaves who came here, they migrated from Israel, the Shemitic Negro slaves, and they went to West Africa, and they were picked up in West Africa, in Benin, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Togo, in Burkina Faso, all of that area, and brought to the America. He said, my people have scattered. I'm going to round them back up. And then he makes it clear that he's going to burn this nation of people, this eagle nation. Now, that is quite sad, but it's the word of Yah. So I'm going to ask you to join me in Isaiah chapter 24 as we bring this to a conclusion. It says he's going to burn the eagle. Yeshayahu chapter 24. The word says, see, Yahweh is making the earth empty. He's making Eretz empty. Either the whole earth, in this context, again, I believe it's a parcel of land, a piece, a territory is being referred to here as the earth, empty, and making it waste, and shall overturn its surface, and shall scatter abroad the inhabitant. Now, let me give you a little rationale here. If the earth is going to be burned, and the people scatter abroad, it cannot be the earth as a whole. Where would they go? Space? So it has to be a parcel of land somewhere that is being referred to as Eretz, the earth. The inhabitants will go abroad. And it's interesting that we're dealing here at this particular time with a lot of immigration issues, and people are being deported and so on and so forth. It may well be that the deportation that's taking place, it's for their own benefit, because Yah don't want some of them to see what is going to happen. But they don't know it yet. Just a thought. And it shall be as with the people, so with the Kohen, with the priest. As with the servant, so with his master. As with the female servant, so with the mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the creditor, so with the debtor. The earth is completely emptied and utterly plundered, for Yahweh has spoken this word. The earth shall mourn and wither, the world shall languish and wither. The haughty people of the earth shall languish, for the earth has been defiled under the inhabitants because they have transgressed the Torah, changed the law, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore, a curse shall consume the earth, and those who dwell in it be punished. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth shall be burned, and few men be left. The new wine shall fail, the wine shall languish, all those glad at heart shall sigh. He says this is happening because they have broken the everlasting covenant and they've changed the law. One of the laws they've changed, Yahweh says a man should get married to a woman. And in an era of gender fluidity, they say, no, it's okay. 2 men and 2 women can get married. Yah said, no, that shouldn't be so. Yah made a covenant with Noah in chapter 9, an everlasting covenant that including the animal, the earth, and the people. And he says it is broken. They're damaging the land with their machinery and with the crops. The harvests are not yielding as they should because they have meddled with the fruits that Yah has said. You go into the supermarket and they're filled with pesticides. And many of the fruits don't have a seed. In Genesis 1:29, Yah said, don't eat fruits without seeds. And so the crops are damaged because of man's greed. And said, Yah says, I'm speaking to the eagle. You wicked claws. Look what you've done to my creation. Look what you have done. And so today I've looked at this, and this was not by chance, as I said. This was not serendipity. It was not fortuitous. No. Providence led us here. Providence. Even as providence led the Puritans and the Pilgrims and the Baptists and the Presbyterians and the Lutherans and the Quakers. Is this the outcome? The eagle has been a national emblem. We all know that for the United States since 1782 and reputed to be a spiritual symbol of the native people. But the book of Esdras looked at this, and as we this morning perambulated through the book, particularly chapters 11 and 12, we find that the impulse of reason deepens to a new prophetic depth. We saw that. And even beyond to a common comprehension that the eagle here is dealing with America. We see that. Therefore, it cannot be a matter of indifference of the student that this book is left unread. Shouldn't be. It is a book that needs to be studied and comprehended because serious times are coming upon us. And so there is something sublimely intriguing about this three-headed eagle. It's a prophecy that doesn't need to shout for it to be remembered. It lingers as it teaches the inner recesses of our thought. It reaches the inner recesses of our thought. As we rummage through it, it speaks to our cerebral cortex. It does. And our cogitation, like Daniel, invoke the attention of our tympanic membrane. It does, which transmits sound vibration to a sense of wow. It really does. So may it be that we relook at this prophecy and see if we can make even greater sense of it, because we ask this. It's our duty to do this. Even as student, this is our term work, our end time term work, because our papers are being marked by Yeshua. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen. Hallelujah.